My friend is going to start with this one. Are you going to start with the science or the camera?
I'm going to start with a conversation.
Okay.
I'll get to the CRMLS later. I'll start with the slides, get to your questions about that. Gentlemen, perfect timing. We're not going to really super start until 11:45, so if you guys want to grab tacos.
Okay.
Good to see you. The ones that did not register on my event, right? You're about to another one coming on the way. I saw those pictures of stars.
Oh, I asked Fred to do it.
Good morning.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing with the demand? Down to 67, 63 where you look. I know.
We're gonna have some, there's some tall schools in the back. I'll get there
Hey,
I'm not sure, but I was it?
hey, Monica, can I ask you a quick question? Can I ask you a quick question? I emailed Fred a couple other things,
Okay.
and I might want to pull them up.
And we
Just give me
haven't,
back to his email. And are we started on Zoom yet?
yes, give me 1 second. You said you're gonna want to pull them up though.
Yeah, well, I just need to grab them off Fred's email. Sorry.
Give me one, let me see. Just so I don't show everybody. Actually, I'm gonna end up.
Trade emails. Yeah. I didn't hear back from you, so I wasn't sure if you got it. Oh, good. Yeah. It's fine. ABRAHAM.
Shoot. Okay, so one thing, when we do it, you just tell me what you want to show.
I just want that red versus buy that you had up there.
Yeah, but I'll pop it up once we're ready, because then I'm gonna make it bigger.
Do you need me to print anything? I just saw it.
No, it's fine. No. I'm gonna probably show them how to do that.
It's my phone number. Somebody turn it on. I sent it out on the text. Yeah. But it's gonna be the, oh no, there should be another text signature. Either way, the link ID is gonna be my phone number 562-746-09. Yeah, my phone number.
Yeah.
And then, oops, I didn't share screen.
Go ahead and introduce me.
Yes, I'll do the introduction and then I'm gonna share screen. Welcome, everybody. How are you doing today? I want a little more energy. Welcome, everybody. How are you doing today? All right. I'm like with tacos in the house. I'm just saying we should be bringing that energy, my friends.
They are. They're putting it into chewing.
Right? All right. I know we have a couple guests that are here in the room or are going to be joining us on Zoom. My name is Monica Rivera. I'm the team leader for Keller Williams Southeast Los Angeles.
Best team leader ever.
Oh, thank you so much. And I am so excited to have you all joining us. I'm going to note before we get started on today's class, how many of you feel that the market has changed a little bit? Right? We're feeling it. I see only some of the hands going up. Those of you that hands didn't go up, you guys aren't out there enough. Right? We're feeling it already. We're starting to see some adjustments in price, and I see the hands up even on the Zoom. Thank you, Diana, as well. Right? We're feeling it a little bit, and that means we are going into, or we are in, I would say we are in a skill-based market.
Agreed.
Right? When we come into real estate and we look at this business for the last decade or so, we've had a market that's been on an upward trajectory when it came to price. So what does that mean? It meant that if we overpriced something, the market tended to catch up. In fact, in the last 2 years, we've seen the highest rate of appreciation that we've seen in a long time. And here's the thing, that's not where we're at anymore, right? Inflation comes into play and the Fed say, hey, great, we gotta lower this. And what do? They raise interest rates and there's adjustments and the demand goes down. That's
Did
supply
they
and
raise
demand.
interest rates? I'm sorry. Did they do that?
Yes, they did that. Yes, absolutely. And they're going to continue to raise interest rates. So it's really important now that we look at pricing at a high level. We look at the conversations that we're having with our clients at a very high level. Before I introduce my very good friend, I do want to give Downey Capital an opportunity as our sponsors for today. How many people are enjoying the tacos?
All right.
Come on up to the camera, my friend, to the camera.
Come all the way up. Hi, you guys.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is enjoying the tacos. We love those tacos across
They
the
are.
street. They're delicious. So enjoy. We just wanted to wake up your tummy and your brain so you know Adam can have your full attention this morning, okay?
Yeah, that's right. Also, I just wanted to say that we're very fortunate to have Dominic here because Dominic, as you guys know, is an incredible agent who has a lot of experience pricing homes. And the class that you're about to hear today is definitely gonna help you hone in your skills when you're working with your clients. Let me tell you, there's someone that's way ahead of you on this pricing thing already. You know who that is? It's not the processors, the appraisers. The appraisers are already way ahead of you. We're starting to see a lot of properties that are not hitting that value that we need. So it's important for you guys to get this information today. So when you're talking with your sellers, you give them realistic expectations. Let me tell you, today I got canceled on a listing appointment because the seller wasn't realistic. And he's starting to see the fact that he's not going to get what he wants. And so he decided to wait, which is also a bad thing. I'm hoping to get that meeting again going, hopefully next week. But it's happening. We're seeing the changes, and Dominic is going to give you the insights on how to combat that the price topic when you're talking to your.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're actually going to talk about that.
And what I highly recommend to the agents when we're going into escrow, pull those comparables. Pull those current comparables, and if you're going to that appraisal department, be there with those comparables so you can get the highest value. That's my best recommendation. I always give the agents, walk to the appointment with comparables in your hand. Okay, so we'll talk more, because I know Dominic has to start.
Yes, let's get started.
Alrighty?
Thank you.
Alrighty, have fun, guys.
Thank you, Downey Capital. Now, please help me welcome my very good friend, Mr. Dominic.
Oh. You'll forgive me, I can't teach to a classroom of people and teach to Zoom at the same time. So Zoom, if it looks like I'm ignoring you, I'm not. Deep down, I'm thinking about you. Okay, so real quick, you guys, my experience, I started selling real estate in the year 2000. I've sold nonstop for 22 years. This has been my full-time occupation, except I was a team leader like Monica back in 2008. And then 2009 through 2011, I was a business coach for 2 different Keller Williams offices. And I taught and created a short sale program with another KW partner of mine, who went on and taught it in maps. And a lot of what I'm going to teach you today really wasn't there first. And that is how I was taught to evaluate properties, particular to appraisal. And I'm going to go through appraisal guidelines with you guys and really customize it to what you guys need today. So I'm going to ask you all a few questions. And if your name is not on my board, will you please say your name, introduce yourself?
No big deal.
Hey, Norma. Next. Jose, thanks, Jose. And if you need to spell your name, that's great too.
Jeffrey. Alan.
Oh, what's that? Yeah.
Octavio.
Octavio, thanks. There's a few more people that are here today that are.
Edgar?
Edgar. Okay. Who else? No, you're up there. Yeah, you're right. Here, I'll put a star next to it. Who else? Do I spell it like I think I do? Yes. Boom. That's it, right, everybody? All right. We are right on the edge, you guys, of being able to really get you to go into your MLS and customize the fields and really come out with an appraisal product at the end. So we might have to modify this a little bit. If you are an expert in appraisal, please raise your hand. That was too long. I don't know, Pico, I'd say you're pretty close too. Okay, so I want you guys to pay attention to who raised their hands, because both Roland and Pico, who work with me, they're set up on the MLS. They're probably shrinking in their seats a little bit, because after class today, you could ask them about how to set up the custom fields and they will show you. And they will show you because they are Keller agents. Okay, so we're gonna go through that, but before we do, I wanna talk to you guys about the market. And I'm actually gonna sit down, because like Gary Keller, I think when you sit, you think more. Gary Keller does this thing about the thinking man.
He does.
And Gary Keller is a fascinating person to be able to talk with. I've been in, rooms of 250 or 300 people. That's kind of a small room for Gary. And to be able to have exchange of information, it's really incredible. Very, very smart guy. Gary Keller says the #1 skill to have in real estate is pricing. Pricing is a skill. prospecting is an event, it's an action. And you definitely become more skilled at prospecting as you move along. But pricing is a really, really important one. And very oddly, do we teach pricing in real estate? We don't. In fact, pricing is often thought of in real estate as proprietary knowledge. That is, if some people go to a listing appointment, some agents go to a listing appointment, they won't share their price unless they know they're going to get hired. They won't give an actual price because they believe that is their proprietary information. So this is not shared, but this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to share this with you guys today on how to come up with a product at the end that speaks for itself. In other words, you have to talk less. If you've been in real estate for less than 2 years, I want you to raise your hand. If you've been in, so there's probably 5 or 6 people that have been in here for less than 2 years. I want to tell you that right now is such an exciting time for you in real estate because you get a chance now to leap to the front of the line. During the pandemic, a really weird thing happened. And I know this because I've trained so many real estate agents. I've trained them from having no success in real estate to being very successful in real estate, what we consider as like a transaction a month. And I saw how the pandemic affected them who are skilled and newer in the business and how it affected people who had been in the business for a long time or had what's considered a book of business. Okay. And what happened during the pandemic, Monica, to agents who've been in the business a long time?
I'll note we had 2 things happen, and I think it was kind of a tale of 2 markets that we saw. On one hand, you had those that could not acclimate, and I saw a lot of agents that had been very successful in business that many different companies retired. And then you had some.
So I'm going to stop there.
Yep.
So one part of the business said, this is too hard. I'm taking my ball and going home, and they retired. That's absolutely true. So that's good news for all of the newer agents, right? And what did, well, I'll just skip that. I won't make you answer the second one because I want to answer it. And that is, guys like me came out of the office. Monica didn't basically see me for the better part of at least a year, right?
On Instagram only.
Yeah. Right. So I went home, right? I had been an office rat for my entire career in real estate and know the benefit of being in the office, both for training for myself, but also training other people. And I went home and I sat in my literally padded office because my office is also my music studio. So it's got padding all over the walls. It's very quiet and dark. And I sold real estate from there. I want to tell you, from being a door knocker for years and years, I sat there and a lot of the market called me. I didn't work very hard at it. That is the other good news for people who are new. Real estate agents like me, and their book of business was strong, their book of business called them. And I had very good years in the pandemic, but was I knocking on doors anymore? Roland, Pico, like, no. And I got to tell you, when I went back to it a couple months ago, there was some shock. The water didn't feel the same as it used to. Right? A little different. So that's also good news for you if you're new. But that's just the state of the market. So here's what I want to talk to you guys about. And I want you to talk with me about it too, because I'm really curious. How is the market? What is going on in the market? So it's great. And that's like kind of like a thing us real estate agents say, right? It's great.
That's a opportunity.
You know, as you're bleeding out one leg, it's great.
I door knock and there's a lot of uncertainty.
Okay.
And a lot of people say, I want to sell, but it's gonna be too hard to buy. So they don't know what to do, so they do nothing.
Interesting. You know when else that happened? Uncertainty. Anybody help me out if you feel like it.
That's good.
Uncertainty. Thanks, Monica. When was the last time we had uncertainty in our market?
2020, right at the beginning of 2020.
See, this is what it's like in real estate. You got a million different opinions. I'm thinking about the really big time was March 2008, right? And what was the time before that? The really big time that hit everybody between the eyes. And I'm sorry, you're too fresh and young for this one. What?
91?
No, there was another time before that. I mean, after that. 2000, what? 2000, who said 2001? You're also way too young for that. How old were you in 2001?
I'm so old for
What happened in 2001? You're a Daniel, right? Yeah, I got that right.
There was a terrorist attack in New York.
Okay, yeah. What happened to the real estate market in 2001?
short sales.
Not in 2001.
It stopped to some extent.
It did. There was this little like people. I was actually selling real estate during that time. And interestingly enough, I bought my second house right around that time. That was a duplex. So it was a crazy time. They thought that when the towers came down, that it was going to so radically affect the financial markets that the Fed changed the way the bond was, the 10-year bond, and instantly interest rates went wham. So those three things, you guys, are really important. They help us to understand the market today. Those three things. And when our market of today happened about a month and a half ago, I think it was probably early May, very early, maybe even late April. When it happened, I had a couple listings. One was listed at 1.2, and the other one was listed at $1,629,000. So I had a couple of them. And when the interest rate went up, we pulled both of them off the market for a minute, just to give the market a little reset. And that was good. It was good to do that. But what I said to a number of my friends and real estate agents, and some of them are both friends and real estate agents, was this is the most drastic, momentary thing I had ever seen. And I was running a Keller Williams office in March of 2008. So I was right in the middle of that when the bank fell. And I was selling real estate in 2001 when the towers came down. But this was so drastic. The Fed changed the interest rate, where in people's mind, it went from 1.35 to 1.5 overnight. That's really what happened. And do you know what the next thing, part of the conversation was with those two listings? We need to change your advertised price. So all those comps that I gave them, right? And my comps are fully adjusted, just like an appraisal. And so there was this radical change. That change, can anybody guess, other than Roland, what that change was that I suggested to my clients? I've given you a price. You know what happened in the market. I went back to them overnight and I said what to them? We need to adjust your advertised price. You should write that down. We need to adjust your advertised price. So did I say price change, price correction,
No.
price? No.
I even see everyone putting, on all the listings, price improved. No one says
All-
price
all-
reduced
all-
anymore.
Also not my favorite. It's better. Anybody just guess, throw numbers out there. I'm really curious. Lower, somebody said lower. I don't know who that was. Was that Martha? Okay, so she said lower. I said, what did I change it to? She said lower. And so you are correct. although that's a little too broad. So if I came back to him, I said, we need to adjust your advertised price. It needs to be lower. What do you think they would have told me? No, what would they, if I just would have said that to them, Martha, what would the client say next? Sorry, Cleveland?
How low?
Yeah, they're just gonna say how low. They're just gonna put it back on me again. So what did I say to them?
You give them a number?
Or
1.2,
percentage.
let's say.
Yeah, numbers are important, so I did give them a number.
Let's say for 1.2, 1.1, or 1.
Or percentage change.
Okay, a percentage change. I like that too.
Make it more competitive.
Well, it's bound to, sure. But when the entire market is not competitive, by the way, our entire market is not competitive right now. Like literally, our entire market is not competitive. And when I show you the numbers, you'll know. So what is, by the way, what percentage do you have to be priced incorrectly to be non-competitive in our market? Does anybody have an idea why I asked so many questions?
Questions are good.
Because they're important.
Yeah, why are they good? Yeah, it gets them to think. If you don't have my questions, you're not doing it right. I'll be so bold as to say that. If you have the right questions, then you'll get people to think the right things. I'm not trying to manipulate them. They do need to think about this in a certain way.
Because also too, it gives them an opportunity to make their own decision and not you be the one. to make it.
Excellent. Yeah. Are you already a successful agent, Ebony?
I am. I'm not, but I am.
Well, I love your answer. I figured you were gonna say the second one, but I also didn't know, so I thought I would ask. But I can tell you, you will be successful
Thank you.
based on what you said.
What I did in one of my experience, I talked to my clients and I said, we need to adjust the price based on the interest rates going up. And then I showed them the difference on the price for the buyer, so they can buy.
You're so smart. That's the way to do it.
So, because this is the situation.
So can I ask you just a couple questions? Because I want to just get right to it. What was the price they were at?
We had it at $750.
You had it at $750. And what was it gonna cost the buyer, the change between, say, a 4% and a 5%?
We're looking on what it shows the difference on
The payment. Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yes, we're talking about $100 more.
$100
because
more?
it was like a 4.8.
Okay,
Interest like about a month and a half.
okay,
Now it's 5.5, but they have to pay extra for the points.
they're buying down the rate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's gonna cost money, to buy down the rate.
Yeah,
Plus the difference in the payment.
yeah. Let me stop you right there for a second. Who else has done this? You can raise your hand because you have.
Oh,
And you also did it, Blanca. And Jeff, you both did it. Very smart, all three of you
thank you.
are smart. The rest of you idiots.
This time, but-
I'm one of 9 kids, by the way, you guys. I didn't say all the things, but when one of us got told we were smart, the other probably 8 were looking around. It's not, you should duplicate that. You really should. You should, because you need to think like your buyers. And in some cases, think not for your buyers, but think about things that they might not think about. When I bought my first house in '97, I didn't know anything. I just knew that the prices were about to go up in Huntington Beach, and I wanted a house that was pretty close to the beach, and I was ready to buy. And my real estate agent, sold us the house. I could tell you how I did it some other time, which I don't suggest doing it that way. He just sent it. I said, what's the price? He said, I'm really excited. There's a perfect house for you. I said, great. Where is it? He said, it's on Crest. And I knew that street. I was like, fantastic. What's the price? Because what I was doing was holding my seat probably when he said, what's the price? What's the price? I'm like, he's like, just go take a look. I go, I can't even remember his name now. I go, tell me the price. He's like, no, just go look at it. And it was significantly over our budget. More on that another time. So, where was I?
I just wanna add something. When I have clients that are selling the property.
Yeah.
Or versus another property.
Uh-huh.
When I give them the news, of the price adjustment.
Yeah,
I tell them, look, the main thing here, you're gonna sell for lower, and you're gonna buy for lower too. So.
depends on, by the way, depends on what they're buying, right? You should consult with people about it, either their moves, downsize or an upsize. Yeah, Jeffrey.
In your scenario, and in this market, if you will, what do you feel about price range? So when you're giving them and you're throwing it back at them, and you price range it, when back in the day when we would price range in that market, it would allow the client to engage where the market was going. It would either create a bidding war, or they would at least understand that we're falling within the lines of those two prices.
Historically, there was a real estate company that came up with this idea that we'll show you what we think the price is, and we'll let you pick the other price, and that was the range, right? But buyers very quickly only looked at one price, interestingly enough. But you know, when you range price things on the MLS, to real estate agents, it shows up one way on our MLS, but to consumers on other aggregate sites, right? We all know the names of those sites. I don't need to advertise them, but there are two major ones that really built good apps early on, and so people go to those. But how does the range price show up there? Does the high side show up or the low side? The high side. So what do I think about range pricing?
It's good if you're.
Look at Blanca, she was shaking her head. She was like, yes, I don't know. Do you know what she meant when she was, I think you were agreeing with me.
She'll always disagree with
This is what I thought it was. You guys, this is actually really important, because when you sit with a client who is married, it's like, joined, we're one. They're not one. But they're gonna go back and forth, and you need to get both to a similar understanding. So, but you understand what I said, Jeffrey, right? So those aggregate show, the aggregate, the consumers that are out there, they see the high price. So what do I think about range pricing?
You'd rather not.
Not just I'd rather not, what else?
Not a fan.
Well, I'm also not a fan, clearly. What else?
I guess it's the way you market it. I mean, that's.
Well, then, you're right. This is about marketing.
Right.
Be very clear. You're right.
Do that all day long.
I'm sorry?
I have pocket buyers for my listing.
Right.
Averaging out, because
Right.
I need to control the seller, then I will price range it so I can get the listing, because I have pocket buyers that will.
Okay, so that's a separate thing. And by the way, you guys, this is why most agents really have a tendency to collapse under the pressure of getting the listing, because they want the signature. I want to tell you guys right now that I have not taken a listing in probably about 9 or 10 years that does not include written into the listing agreement. Seller may cancel this agreement. Period. Not in writing, not after 30 days, just period. So I can be fired at any time. So I tell them the truth right from the beginning, all of it. And the truth that we're going to talk about today, the appraisal, really is going to come out, because it's the appraisal that does the talking, not me. Right? We're afraid of pricing because we think the seller is going to think we're trying to do what?
Deceive them.
Why? Why deceive them?
They're thinking that we're thinking it's mostly profit, or we don't have their best interest. Other times it could be someone else's bad experience that's influencing on their decision or their own.
Yeah, we're afraid, and sometimes rightfully so, that the seller is negotiating with us in that moment. And if it's a negotiation, it's us against them. But the minute I move this off to the appraisal side, are we in negotiations anymore?
No.
No, you can go negotiate with that bank. What percentage of buyers put down 20% or less in our market?
90% or more.
I say 5 or 6.
So 5 or 6% put down 20% or more. What do the rest of the 94% do?
They go FHA.
You don't want to get
Okay, right.
Back credit.
And if I moved you to Beverly Hills? Beverly Hills,
soon,
that's where.
coming soon.
So it depends on where you're at. 80% of our home sales happen in a price range under what price? 80%, so the 80-20 rule, right? The vast majority of homes that sell at what price and under? Just give me a price. Sorry?
800 and under.
Okay, 800 and under? Do I hear? Do I have a million under? Do I hear 7? Wonka says 7. You guys are all telling me your demographic when you're looking at this, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
In our area.
Right. Even in your area, it's higher than you think it is.
Really?
Yeah. It's really about 1-3 and under. So 20% of our property sells in like the 1-4 and up range. Very, very little of it. So the vast majority of what we care about sells at 1-2 or 1-3 and under. What percentage of that property sells with a loan on it that's 20% down or less?
Right.
I love quiet.
Right, 95%.
There were 11 people in my house. I love quiet.
Like 95, 98%. 20% down payment or less.
Yeah.
I would say about 90%.
So geez, first 98, now you're at 90.
Yeah.
But yeah. You guys know that you can find this number, right?
No. Another?
Yeah. It's in the MLS. Where would you find it in the MLS, Alan? No, not quite. I asked this in a class when I was the business coach over at the Los Alamitos, Keller Williams. I asked this in a class in like 2009 during the short sale years. And somebody said, well, those people who have a lot of cash are getting better deals. And I said, what is the cash discount? Right, because that's a term. I'm not exactly making it up, but it wasn't widely said back then. And I asked, what's the cash discount? And no one knew. So you know what happened? I had to go find out. And I called the MLS. And I asked them. And they said, we don't know. You can't do that. And so what I did instead is I took a data set. And when I was doing this, I was doing it 100 houses at a time. And I would pull them up within a geographic area in a pretty tight set. And I would go look at the title on each of them. And I would just methodically do the math. That's their loan, because their loan shows up right on title. That's their loan. Who said smart? Did somebody just say? Realist, yeah. Yeah, I thought somebody said smart. When anybody said
Smart too.
somebody said
You're
smart, I go,
too.
oh, thanks. This is ditch digging, you guys. I'm serious, it's ditching. But you know what you get when you dig a ditch? You move water, right? Nobody else is moving water. They're just not. You guys, if you want a skill set that no one else has, just do what they don't think to do, can't do, or aren't willing to do, right? So when I go in and I say the appraisal sensitivity is X, what happens to the seller's face?
You're the expert.
Well, I am. I'll say that without ego. About appraisal sensitivity, I am the expert. Because I don't know, and I've never heard anybody else who does it. I think Roland, maybe you've done it a few times, right? You don't do it super regularly, right?
No, but I mean, I.
But you know how to-
Concept.
Yeah, and he knows how to do it. And Roland's the best person in this room at appraisal, and he's done that too, appraisal sensitivity. You can go find that information, but you just gotta dig for it. I'll tell you what it is now. About 80% of the property is appraisal sensitive. It slides a little around. The lower the price point, the higher the appraisal sensitivity, right? We've already heard that in this room today. When you start talking about 750, 650, 550, are there even 550 houses anymore? Don't worry, wait, there'll be.
There will be. Next few months.
There are, depends on.
Maybe a
county.
little longer than a few
6
months.
months or less. Huh?
Year, I think a year. I think a year, you'll start seeing some houses.
Yeah.
So the appraisal sensitivity I've talked about for years now. And that's important because I want sellers to understand that 80% of their buyers are gonna be appraisal sensitive. And once I talk about appraisal sensitivity, I get to talk about appraisal. This is really important. So I'm going to go through that with you guys right now. And then we're also going to talk about rent versus buy, because this is the thing that absolutely is coming up right now. You guys would be happy to talk about it in the group if you want, but a big portion of your leads, at least 25%, aren't leads anymore on the buy side. Does everybody agree with that? Nod your head if you agree with what I just said. The back row. No, yes, agreed, okay. 25% of your leads died on the operating table. Bam, they're gone now.
Due to the interest rate, right?
What's that?
Due to the interest rates going up.
Yeah, because the interest rate went up, they won't even qualify anymore. Luis, how does a buyer qualify for property? Just yell it from over there,
They have to have the proper income,
okay?
they have to have the proper credit score,
Yeah.
640 or higher.
Uh-huh. There are three things, right?
Credit income.
And a down payment, right?
Yeah.
Income, credit score, down payment. Those are the three things. If you're VA, you don't have to have a down payment, but you have to have served in the military.
Yes.
Is there anybody who can qualify for a VA loan right now? Cool, good job, you should do it, man.
They're so funny if you know someone in a way, it's.
Yeah, they are, but the lower the down payment, the higher the, say it. Say it out loud, so you might say it in a listing appointment. The lower the down payment, the higher the appraisal sensitivity. In other words, even if it appraises, what might happen, Luis? You were just talking about it.
So even if it appraises
Yeah,
at the value,
yeah. Even if it appraises, so the appraiser takes it back to the underwriter, what might the underwriter do?
they still review the entire.
Yeah, they're still gonna review it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
any change in the income that might have happened, cut hours or
Yeah.
whatever it may be,
Any of it.
or any decrease in the
Yeah.
credit,
Yeah.
lowers the standard, it might not qualify.
Okay, so this is an important point. If you know what DTI means, raise your hand. It's about half the class. Debt to income ratio, right? And so when the interest rate went up, what happened to their DTI, the buyers? What DTI is too high by percentage? Somebody said 43%, that was Daniel. 45, do I hear 46? 46, 47, do I hear 47, 47? Luis, as the expert in the room. 50, so 51 is too high.
Which that,
Your fire, your thing just went up in smoke. That's a terrible fire, right? It's gone. But here's what happens that's important. When you come to your buyer and they go, well, the interest rate went up, we just can't afford it anymore. They're saying, I want to quit. They're saying, I'm scared, this is too much. If you haven't really consulted with them on what their net is, and your net is your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? Your PITI, what I call the nut, right? This is our nut. PITI minus what is your net as a buyer?
Minus your debt.
Minus what?
Your debt.
Not minus your debt. No, this is how there, that's on the qualification on the DTI, but a buyer's net is their principal, interest, taxes, and insurance minus their tax write-off.
oh, yeah.
And there is something in our MLS that will enable you to consult with them what their tax write-off is without giving them tax advice. You can't give tax advice, you can't give legal advice. That's very clear, but it's in your MLS that you can consult with them on really what this is gonna mean to them personally, right? My real estate agent didn't. I got somewhere back like almost $6,000 on my first house that was $269,000. At the end of the year, my wife was like, we're getting 6,000 back almost. I said, that's fantastic. I would have rather not eaten beans and rice for the last year. I mean, really, we were sitting in a house with no furniture kind of thing for quite a few months.
Opportunity cost.
Right, yeah, it's opportunity cost for sure. Also, though, I had it completely shifted the second year. I went to the HR department for the restaurant that I was working at. I'll get to you once I came around. And said, change my withholdings. I just want to balance at the end of the year, right? And that really helped me understand. And then when we sold that house after 4 years and it went from 269 to 480, I understood the real benefit of home ownership. So I'm going to do that with you guys today. But first, let me go through the guidelines for appraisal. I'm going to show you what they look like. And you can use these parameters and apply it to the MLS. And you will be able to do adjustments on things. So I'm going to roll right through it now. This is called fair market value. That's the bank's term for appraisal. So this portion is about fair market value and how to price it right and sell for top dollar. So there's 4 guidelines for appraisal. We're going to go over those. We're going to talk about how to make adjustments. I've already talked a little bit about appraisal sensitivity, but we're going to talk about how you do it. And then we're going to talk about pricing using supply and demand, because homes regularly sell for higher and lower than what they list for, don't they?
Yes.
That is why the price you put on your home is what? The advertised price. Say it out loud. The advertised price. So the 4 guidelines for appraisal are: 1, distance. In urban areas or suburban areas like we're in, it's a 1 mile radius. Size, 25% plus or minus of the square footage. If you have a 2,000 square foot home, 25% is what number? 1/4 of 2,000 is what? 500. So you're 500 plus or minus of 2,000. That's 1,500 to 2,500 square feet. If you get what I just said, nod your head. Go like this so I can see you. Okay, cool. Time. They're going to pull the comps from the last 6 months. If you're talking about time and money, this is a really typical graph, right? Time and money. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These could be months, these could be weeks, they could be anything. But this is what a graph looks like, right? Time and money. That's what our market was, right?
Yeah.
As time marches on, the price goes up. So if you're pulling comps, this is why homes sell for more than what they appraise for, because the market's going up. But when the market's coming down, because that happens too, right? An appraiser is going to be a lot more careful in their 6 months. They might only pull 3 of those months. And in some markets, they have to account for this triangle right here, which is the differential, right? They have to be careful when they're using historical comps. It starts to make the underwriter hysterical. In fact, in some markets, like in 2009, 2008, even way back in 2006, some underwriters were kicking back appraisals because they knew they weren't right. They were just taking a pen going 5% slash. Are they doing that today? Are underwriters slashing the appraisals? Not yet exactly, but guess what they're gonna do? They have to. Are you gonna pull, look, what's 6 months back from today? Monica said too high, you're right. But what month is that? It's February. It's February. What was the high part in our market? If I had the months down here, what was the highest month we've had? March. I would say March, April, definitely before May. Yeah. That's because that's when the interest rate was lowest and the demand was the highest. I'm erasing that now. Sorry about showing you, all you Zoom people went back for a while. There we go. Okay. Now I can get back to this. Okay, and then the condition. Now appraisers evaluate conditions slightly different than we do on my team. And there's a reason for that, and I will get into it. They use C1 through 5. C1 is the best, C1 is new, C5 is garbage. But we have 10 degrees in there instead of 5. And ours are way more important because they calculate what buyers are willing to pay for that property. And that has shifted over time. And there's a reason for it. Yeah. Okay, so this is how you do an adjustment. You'll excuse the math. This is an old slide. I did not change the math yet on here. So that should be what? 1,500 to 2,500 square feet. We used to pull comps only on the property that was 20% plus or minus, because that's what I was trained to do in the advanced evaluation course that I took in 2008. And then Roland and I had a listing on Downey Avenue, and it just so happened that seller was what, Roland? And she said, what?
25.
I said, okay. We need to pull a wider array of comps usually because we just don't get enough comps, right? And does anybody know what our turnover ratio is in Southern California? That means what percentages of homes sell every year in Southern California?
Less than 7%.
It is less than 7%.
Probably 30%, maybe 2.5.
So, you realize you can't change when you're in front of a client. You can't say 7 and then 3, but 3 is right. It's somewhere between 3 and 5%, depending on the market. Do you know what it is in the rest of the world other than maybe New York or some other metropolitan areas? An average place.
Wow.
Yeah, because the prices of the home go lower, right?
15%. Yeah, they don't care. They're coming and going. Also, Southern California is a great place to live.
Yeah.
So people don't move very often. They just stay put. And if they do move, sometimes what do? They lease their house out because they want to save their place in line. So we don't turn over very often. It makes it more difficult on the comp side. So if you looked at this slide, you would see that there are two ways to make adjustments in an appraisal. That is replacement value and market value. And appraisers never use market value. So when you show up to the appraisal to try to convince them that the buyer has paid the right price, you're gonna say things like X amount per square foot, aren't you? And you know, the appraiser goes like this, that is not the way we do it. And you go, but, and they go, I'm sorry, I'm really not allowed to talk to you.
Yeah.
After Dodd-Frank in 2010, they got this incredible weapon called see ya. They don't have to and cannot be pushed around by outside forces like they used to. Okay, so we're gonna use replacement value, and replacement value is the cost to build, right? And in some markets, that used to be down to as low as maybe like $95 a square foot. But really in our market, it runs $200 to even $350 a square foot. I would suggest that you start with probably $150 a square foot. That's what most appraisers are going to use.
What would you say the price, what's the price point when you start bumping it above 150?
Anything, that's a good question. Anything above $1 million, probably I would start to be there.
Yeah.
I know lots of people who have said in this market, because we have less contractors, right? Supply and demand, less contractors means higher price. People are paying $300 a square foot, $350, no problem in our area of Southern California. Okay, so this is the scale that we use for adjustments. And when I first taught this class, people thought I was insane that I started with 7. They go, that's not the way numbering works. I go, yes, it is. The vast majority of the homes that we evaluate are 7s. The vast majority of homes. Because why? Because people don't move from here very often, do they? At 5%, how many years does it take for 5% to clear the market out? 20 years, maybe 17 if you're doing advanced math that I can't do off the top of my head, 16, something like that, right? So what do people do? They age in their home. What happens when you age? You start to wear glasses. In other words, your vision goes. In other words, you don't care what your house looks like. In other words, this is fine. I loved it in the 80s and I love it now. So a house that's a 7 has had no remodel in the last probably 10 or 15 years and is in good, clean, ready to go into condition. An 8 is a home that's had a kitchen remodel in the last 10 or 15 years, 9 kitchens and baths, and a 10, everything's been done and top graded for the neighborhood. A 6 is something that has paint or carpet damage, something like that. Now, a lot of you, if you're good at shopping for something, raise your hand. I know, but really, I'm great at shopping for music gear, right? I mean, everybody has something that they're great at shopping. Monica?
Yep.
I want to know, what are you great at shopping for?
Vintage.
Vintage, cool, right? Back in the day when I was in high school, you walked into any thrift store, it was vintage. You buy the world's greatest jeans in like the 80s. They were already distressed. People wore those 501s into the perfect shape for me. Buy them by the pound. You can't find them anymore. It's crazy. Who else is good at shopping for something? What are you good at shopping for?
I love home decoration.
Yeah, because you can find really unique stuff, right? That's exactly to your taste. Okay. You should be able to walk into any big box store, right? Home improvement store and go shopping. And you should know what it costs to remodel something. If you haven't done it before, maybe you just either live in a place where you haven't ever remodeled it, or maybe you're renting right now, or whatever, it doesn't matter. You should still have the skill set to know what that thing costs, so you can make this adjustment. Now, the cost has changed. We used to do our adjustment at 3%. That is per point. So on $1 million home, 3% is how much? $30,000. So the difference between an 8 and a 9, or let's say start with 7, house no remodel, but you remodeled the kitchen. Can you remodel a kitchen for $30,000? Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on who you are. If you're you and me, we can do it. If it's somebody who doesn't have a skill set, it's going to be higher. We used to do it at 3%. We now do it at 4%.
Is that including construction?
Depends on what you mean by construction. That is a cosmetic. That is new cabinets,
Right.
new appliances except for the fridge. So every house usually comes with a stove.
Microwave.
Right, yeah, typical stuff you'd see there, right?
Yeah. But
And
also
for the
too
neighborhood.
Okay, the labor, yeah.
Right.
I mean,
So if you go into a $2 million neighborhood, that kitchen is gonna be at least 80 grand. It's probably gonna be even more than that. The reason why we did that is contractors are more expensive. But really the reason why we do it is because we had noticed that the homes that were like flip or a 9 or a 10, they were selling for prices that didn't compensate that adjustment anymore. They were selling for more, and we had to change the adjustment. And here's my theory why, because there's no way I could go in and go, hi, buyer that just bought this home. I just can't do it. But this is what we've seen from our clients. Millennials and Gen Z did not go into construction like we did. Right? I'm Gen X, like all the way. I'm 55. That means that, you know, yeah, we bought our parents' homes and they hadn't done anything with them since 1970. And when we bought their home, we made Home Depot and Lowe's. We really did, like my generation did. But the generation now, millennials and Gen Z, they are both working to be able to afford it. And they didn't spend a summer building homes. You know, when I was 19 and 20, I put in Pella windows and doors with a contractor. This is what I did. I needed a job, so. Right, so that's what I did. That doesn't happen anymore. Contractors used to have really big crews before 2008. And then when the housing went bam, crunch, right? There's just a whole bunch of it. They downsized. Those contractors had like 2 or 3 people anymore. And they used their subs a lot more. Okay, so. Oops. Okay, this is what it looks like when it comes out of your MLS. This 3-column appraisal has the comparable on the left, and then I'm sorry, the subject property on the left, and then the other comparables on the right. And sometimes there'll be 2 or even 3 comparables per page, but it's usually 2. So this looks a lot like an appraisal. And once you have the adjustments, see those arrows on there? I take the adjustments and I highlight them so that when I'm going through it with a client, their eye is drawn there. I have made the adjustments. I found this so beneficial, you guys, because when I first started selling real estate for the first 5-6 years, I was selling like every real estate agent does, which is like, this is what I see, right? This is what I know, myopic, one singular vision. But then when I started doing supply and demand in 2004, when I came over to Keller, the top trainer in Keller, as an aside on his listing presentation class, taught supply and demand. And there were 2 people that came back the next day, because it was a 2-day class. There were 2 people that came back with the extra homework. Who was one of them?
You-
Yeah, I was. And he said, just tell me how many homes are in escrow and how many homes are available to buy. And I came back with those numbers and he goes, that's your supply and demand. And so for years, and I still have them somewhere, I would take line paper from the title company. I just turn it into a graph. You guys, this is like, I didn't come from an Excel background. So I have this data in like manila envelopes of like, I would do it weekly. And I tracked that. And then in 2008, when B of A was gonna let me into their REO program, the first thing they do is they send you to appraisal class, advanced evaluations. And so I took that class and then I taught it so much because I was a team leader with Keller. I taught it so much that eventually I was like, what am I doing? I need to bring this to my listing presentation. So now I'm not arguing with the seller. I'm just informing them about what? The appraisal sensitivity. In other words, the bank's not going to give the buyer the money unless the home what? Appraises. So this slide is maybe 7 or 8 years old. And it was 70%. Last time I looked, it was more in the low 80% appraisal sensitivity. To calculate the appraisal sensitivity, look at your market in the last 90 days or 60 days or whatever you want, and divide the appraisal sensitivity by the total number of homes sold. So you just look through the MLS, look through the realist tax on each house and go, how much did they finance? And if they financed, 80% or more, that is appraisal sensitive. That means the bank did not give them the money unless the house appraised. All right, are there any immediate questions on this? On just what I covered right there? Again, there are times where I've taught this where there's maybe 15 or 20 people in class. Everybody has their MLS up. I go through and I go, no, this is how you change the custom field. I taught this for years and years and would show people how I do it on the MLS. And they're like, yeah, but cloud CMA is prettier. I'm like, you don't want pretty. The number one seller thing that they say when they talk about the house is, my house is special in this way. The grass leans further east, and when the sunlight hits it early in the morning, it's more beautiful.
What are you using the MLS with this thing?
It just says CMA program. At a certain point, I'll show you. Monica will pull it up.
Are you ready for it?
Yeah, because I'll also talk about the supply and demand.
And I appreciate the change to 25% because on that I would say 15%.
Yeah. Any questions so far, you guys, just about the appraisal side of it and those fundamentals? Because these are fundamentals.
Yeah. You want me to pull it up already? CMA?
Yeah, Abraham.
My question is, what if, for example, because I know not every home is not easy to compare. How about if, let's say, the property you're trying to put a listing is either too unique or if it hasn't sold many in the area? Do you go back even further? Do you adjust it? Anything like that?
Mr. Seller, you have a beautiful house. It's very, very unique. That orange color on the outside of your house is fantastic. It really pops. No one's gonna laugh at that, huh? More on house colors
We're
later.
trying to be the seller.
I
We
know,
really
right?
appreciate
So
it.
Mr. Seller, I really think your house is beautiful and it's great. And with your permission, I'd like to take 5 or 10 minutes and show you the basics of appraisal, right? Because in our market, 80% of the homes that the buyers buy, they can't buy them unless the bank gives them the money and the house appraises. Does that make sense? You probably knew that though, right? Yeah. So your house using appraisal guidelines doesn't actually appraise. The good news is we can find somebody who's gonna pay all cash to buy your house. We have to be aware of that, or we find a buyer who's got extra money beyond the 20%. Does that make sense? So I'll show you what that looks like. And I did a fully adjusted evaluation of your home, and you'll see if there'll be some gaps in it, right? Because in this neighborhood, your 3,500 square foot house in this neighborhood of 1962 homes that were 1,350 square feet, your house stands out. Roland's the only one who thinks I'm funny. Kaliko's kind of laughing too. What did I just describe, you guys?
This house is peculiar.
The McMansion. In other words, the best house in the worst neighborhood is, everybody knows that when you buy a home, you're supposed to buy the
Worst house, best neighborhood.
So the good news is your house is beautiful. I'm gonna tie a bow on that sandwich for him. So he just had a sandwich with suspect ingredients. Okay, so here is this mine? Yeah, it's mine. Okay, so if you go to the MLS, I'm gonna put on my glasses. Yeah. No.
So you're not seeing no more people that are going $50,000 or $100,000 over the listed price? The price are kind of stable.
Sure.
Still?
Yeah,
Really?
it depends on, well, I'm sorry.
Depends where,
Yeah.
Depends where, it depends on what else.
supply and demand.
Oh, okay. Somebody give me a house price. Any price is fine.
950.
$1 million. We're all gonna agree that the house is worth $1 million. We all agree right now.
Yep.
I'm going to advertise a price now. And if you're interested in the house, please stand up. By the way, I gave all of you $1 million.
Okay.
You have $1 million cash in your pocket. No, stay standing. I'm just
Like
curious.
the house.
Hold out in the back. No, yes. Okay. Just now you can shake your legs out, everybody. We've been talking for an hour and that's usually the point. You can sit back down. By the way, how many offers do you think I was gonna get? 4, 6, 8, 10. You're still kind of thinking. I had 18 offers. One of the things that I consult with sellers about is I set expectations going in. So I say, when your house is right, we should get at least 4 to 6 showings and at least 1 or 2 offers. Because that's what we want. We want at least 1 or 2 offers, right? So the only way you can guarantee a house sells for the most is if it sells under competition. There's a little asterisk that when you get into the really high range, sometimes you can have an off-market sale and it might be above what anybody else would pay. Or the next door neighbor needs the house for their kids. That just happened a few months ago to me. Okay, so if you get 10 or 20 showings, I would expect probably 3 or 4 offers. The most that I've ever had on a house was 150 showings in 2 hours. I stopped the offers at 30.
Wow.
And the house was bid up over 10%. And the house was listed at the FMV, the fair market value, what it would appraise for. Now, really interestingly, another great agent in that neighborhood had listed a house at 750 just a couple months before. And then he ended up selling it like 690, I think. And we came on at 699 and we sold it like 785.
You're down here, or what's it?
That was in Huntington. Yeah. But the same thing has happened in Downey with
Right.
rolling the time. I mean, it's so, are homes still selling for over what they list for? It's just an advertised price. Yes, they are. And in fact, there's really something interesting. Monica, will you pull up that supply and demand thing that I sent, that email? Sorry. Everybody, a small round of applause for Monica. Is last minute doing things that I probably.
Is it this one?
Yeah, that's great. So you guys are all just looking at a bunch of numbers. I should not walk away from the camera. You're right. We're looking at a bunch of numbers. I don't know if Zoom can see that.
They can.
You should ask if there's any questions online too, Monica. So we are looking at coming soon. What does coming soon mean? Yes, they are. They're on the market. It's on there. It's up there. They're on the market. I have issue with coming soon. Active means it's on the market. It's ready to go. Active under contract means it's been taken off the shelf and put in the basket known as escrow. That's demand, right?
Right.
It just means what has not happened yet.
Close.
The contingencies haven't been removed.
Yep.
If you don't have that language that I just said, you need to make sure you have it, because I get asked this all the time by sellers. Buyers sometimes, but really sellers ask that. Pending means the contingencies have been removed. And closed means closed. So here's what I want you to do. I'll run it from here. What I want you to do is start from the pending and active and add 555. There's only 2 people that are allowed not to do this, but one of them is still doing it. You really should write this down. You guys, you remember things at a different level. Why do you think I wrote all your names on the board? Yeah, it helps me. So you take 555 and add it to the other one, 294. Those are the 2 demand numbers that we see, right? These are in escrow, that's demand. The supply side is what's available. So you take the total of 555 and 294 and you divide it into what is on the market right now, active. And please give me your sum of that.
Where do you get the 555?
5 in the parentheses, pending 555.
Okay.
Active under contract 294. You add 555 and 294 and divide it by 1262. You divide the demand by the ratio and you get the demand ratio.
On Mondays, this is absorption rate, you guys.
Yeah.
Let's give it a test.
Right. Has anybody ever heard that demand ratio before? Yep, I made it up.
Yeah.
I would say I got it from you.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you've heard it. You got it from me. And I made it up so my clients would understand. They would have an understanding of the market. Now, the market of today is what kind of market? If I just ask everybody, not how's the market, but what market are we in? We're in a seller's market. Pico's like, man, I don't know about that. So a seller's market is 70% or higher demand ratio. We just came out of a market that was running at about 150 to 200%. Depending on area, it could be as high as 300%. Areas that just don't have very many homes for sale because people don't want to move. This number changes as you change the parameters, right? So as you lower the price, you might see the demand go up. So what is that number? What did you guys get?
0.67.
No, it's 1.48.
That's the inverted number,
Yeah, oh, yeah. I did the monthly inventory.
right? So, so that's, what did you say it was?
I did it.
67%. That's what 0.67 means, 67%. So are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market? 70% or higher is a seller's market. Are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market? We are technically in a buyer's market. For right now, we are technically in a buyer's market. Why are we in a buyer's market? Due to the interest rate. Which this is really spooky. We lost 25% of the demand.
Yeah.
Now, are we selling more property today than we were a year ago? Well, it does depend on the demand, but you could have a market that's selling less property, but still has a pretty high demand ratio. We have both a lower demand ratio and a lower total units sold right now. That's the bad news for all real estate agents. What percentage lower, what percentage down are we? Does anybody know? You guys get the feeling that I talk about this with clients a lot, right? Yeah, because if the numbers do the talking, then this is not some sort of personality conflict between Clico and I. Look at Clico, that's a handsome stud of guy who's really smart. And he's like, no, I know. And I go, absolutely, and I know you do. And the numbers are saying this, yeah.
I feel like it builds confidence in you, and then your client, you're speaking a language they don't know of, so they really gravitate towards meeting you because you're speaking about something they don't know and they probably want to learn and know so that they can make the best decision.
Yes.
But when you come with like just whatever, like, oh, just trust me or whatever,
I know.
you know, it's like, no,
Yeah.
I can go with someone else that's gonna give me what I want.
Yeah, right.
Which is not true, but they still go with someone else and just end up settling with that person if they're more knowledgeable.
Yeah, negotiation doesn't have to be conflict. A lot of the times for us, when we go into a listing appointment, it's negotiation and it feels like conflict. Because you asked me, in my professional opinion, what should I price at? And I said X, and you're like, no, why? I want it here, not there. Can I share with you guys and Zoom the issue with pricing your property higher? The issue when you price or your advertised price is higher than other people, you're actually helping to sell their home, not yours. Ebony, did you want to sell your home or did you want to sell somebody else's home? They're not going to give you the money when it sells.
Right.
Do you think realtors think that if the house is higher, the percentage that they get for whatever their commission is will be higher?
That's a really interesting point, and that comes up in my listing presentation sometimes. And if it doesn't come up, I bring it up. Isn't that weird that I would bring it up?
No.
So here's what this looks like, and Martha sells lots of property, so I'm going to have the conversation with you as if you were the seller, Martha. Okay. So Martha, let's both understand that my goal here today and 3 months from now, when this is all sold and you're happy and this is great, I want you to get the most amount of money possible. And do you know why I want to get you the most amount of money possible? Well, your partner Ebony just said that.
Oh, because of the commission.
Because of the commission, yeah, it's a little bit more commission. I mean,
Yeah, but that's good for you. no?
yeah, so let's say $50,000 commission more is how much?
Yeah.
No, how much more is 50,000 at 3%? That's my side. How much more is it?
It's more money than I'm gonna.
No, exactly how much more is it?
Like thousands or hundreds?
Well, just if you times 50,000 by 0.03, it comes out to what? I don't have my calculator. It looks really bad if you cheat and look at your phone. It's $1,500. And you're right, Martha, $1,500 is things to me. I think one of my guitars costs $1,500. So a new guitar, yeah, you'll get my attention every day. In fact, I'm gonna shop for weeks before I buy it. $1,500. You know what I want more than that $1,500 though, Martha?
For me to get the most.
I do. I want you to get the most. And the reason why I want you to get the most is because when I get you the most amount of money, your neighbors are gonna be so impressed, they're gonna hire me. And that's 3% of 900,000, which is 27,000. So do I want 1,500 or 27,000? Right. This is the one way that I am very interested in doing a great job for you, because I stand a much better chance of getting hired.
Yeah, we recommend you to everybody.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. By the way, who do you know that's thinking about buying or selling
At
real
this
estate?
moment, give me their number.
And in fact, let's not even talk about the buy side for a minute. Who do you know that's thinking about selling? Because in this market, they need somebody with a very particular set of skills. I have a very particular set of skills.
Just want to interject something that so doesn't go by. What we just came by is very important, that asking the question about referrals up front is at some extent in that conversation is very important, because the conversations go by really quickly.
Yeah.
And that feeling of or that emote that they may have to be able to help you with that will also go as quickly.
And to that point, I want to ask, I want to give a lot before I ask for anything. So I'm just going to keep giving this stuff like high level information so that they can make a great choice. I still get into these conversations with clients where I share all this information. And if you guys want my listing presentation, I'll give you my listing presentation. It's the best one that I know of. Honestly, I really believe that our listing presentation is probably the best listing presentation I know of. And I'll give it to you and you can read it and then you can change your things about it. But even with that, I still get people that say, we want to list at X.
Right.
And I go, I understand that. And I've already said to them, you know, the issue with, you know, pricing your home high is you're gonna make other people look good. Were you trying to make other sellers look good, or did you want to sell your home?
Yeah.
And they still go, we want to go high. And I go, okay, great. Well, we need to understand that even if we sell it at X, your home's gonna appraise for this amount. So we're gonna have to find a buyer who's got a lot of cash. So they can make up the difference. They go, understood. Our house is special. I go, your house is special. It's overpriced. I go, great. So let's talk about what it looks like and what we should expect. If we get 4 to 6 showings in a week, we know we're going to get at least 1 offer, maybe 2. And if we get 10, 15, we could expect 3 or 4, 20. It's probably more like 5 offers. Okay. It's like a 4 to 1 ratio, give or take. And if we don't get showings, then we know we have a bigger problem, because buyers don't buy homes unless they see it first.
Right.
They do not buy homes off the internet. When I first started selling real estate, there were no pictures on the MLS. I repeat, it was a DOS-based system with no pictures. They got pictures on it. Maybe I was 3 or 4 months into the business. I was like, a picture. We'd have to drive by to see even what the house looks like. DOS.
Wow.
Do you know what DOS is?
Right.
Right. You're smart. You don't know what DOS is. It's like an old computer system that's like black and white, like somebody typed. It's crazy. It's crazy. And they sold back then. So know that it doesn't need pictures, but the buyer is gonna step foot in that house.
No blind offers.
That's why I don't want blind offers, because I want them to see the neighbor on each side.
Right.
That also affects, right? So, where was I?
We were talking about demand ratio.
Well,
Yeah.
I know, but that sometimes I'm not. Okay,
And I'm guessing the next place you were gonna go is making sure the price adjustment is in that.
oh, right. You're right. Monica's right. Thank you for keeping me on track.
Good job.
Monica's more organized than I am. So here's what I say to them. If you get these amount of showings, you should expect an offer. If we don't get showings, we have a bigger problem. And if the house doesn't sell in those first 3 weeks, we really should consider pricing it differently where we know that it's gonna work for the marketing and the market. And the last time I said that to somebody who was pricing their home at 1,629 in late April, I said, well, this is the amount of showings we should expect, and we should expect these offers. If we don't get the offers, it means they didn't see what they wanted to see because they knew the price and the square footage. They showed up, saw what they saw, and didn't make you an offer. That's a problem. So if you don't get showings, that means you're not priced right. If you get showings, but they don't make offers, it means your condition doesn't match your price, and you're still what? Not priced right. Okay, so now we go, so I say that to them, as I say it to everybody, this is very McDonald's, right? A listing presentation, make sure you cover all the ground. So I get to the end of it and I go, you should probably be priced in the 1,550, 1,575 range. And they go, we want to price at 1,629. And I said, okay, well, you know, if we don't get the showings, we know. And if we don't get offers, we know. So we should talk about what it looks like to reprice it in 3 weeks. And she said, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And so when we hit the market, and Coleco and Roland and I knocked on 900 doors. 900 doors.
Wow. Must have lost some weight.
I don't know what that means. It's funny, Alan, but I don't know. Yeah, how many man hours, how many, I'm still old. How many people hours does that take? We're the three of, we're all him, so I can say. How much time does it take to knock 900 doors? How many, wasn't there a door knocker in here? So many door knocks, right?
I can knock
I do it
an
like
hour.
You-
I knock 50 doors in about 50 minutes.
An hour, you're right, right? This is, by the way, anybody who says they door knock, and I asked that question too, if their number doesn't line up with my number, I'm like, you don't door knock. You can knock about 50 doors an hour.
Yeah.
It just depends
If you, if,
A lot of doors.
18
it does depend on it, who answers and how long those conversations
They have
are.
to be home.
But once your script is good.
Yep.
And once your pace is good. It's, has it changed? Did something change while I was away? No. I have to ask Roland.
Oh, you're saying like
18
if you're an
hours.
expert door knocking, then it goes the same at the same time frame.
Roland's an expert. It's, yeah, it's,
Mm.
Rose,
no, she is. I may not be.
no, I know, but I'm saying like, once you get to a certain level, it's about the same.
Yeah.
Do I get pulled into weird conversations sometimes? Sure, yeah, it happens.
Averages out.
But it generally doesn't happen because the script handles it. Hi, I'm Dominic with the Adams Group. We're having an open house at 123 Oak Street on Saturday from 12 to 2. I wanted to invite you to come on out. and
Oh,
see it.
wow.
Pay attention to hand gestures.
Yeah, appreciate
Who
it.
do you know that's thinking about buying or selling real estate?
Yeah, no one I can think of at this time.
Oh, okay, I appreciate you thinking about that. You'll notice on the backside is our trade-up program. So if you need to sell your house in order to buy the next one, we'll actually guarantee the sale of your home.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, great. How long have you guys lived here?
We've been here for about 10 years.
And if you guys were to move, where would you go next?
We'd probably go, stay in this neighborhood.
Oh, you would, okay. And what kind of home? I could go on.
Yeah.
But that's it. Even if somebody gets like really sideways, I mean, there's varying degrees of mental health, but it doesn't.
That's
There
true.
is, I'm just
True.
saying.
And that doesn't help for an empathetic person either. I need to get my stuff together. If
What's
I
that?
get pulled in, I get wheeled in like a sea bass.
Well, you're
Empathetic.
That's good. That's-
Ebony, I would just say like, get your script in order because I too am an empathetic person. It doesn't always look like it because I'm also pretty fast moving and direct as a person, but if I knocked on your door and you got sideways, what kind of sideways would you get? Like, what would the conversation be?
Oh,
Just give me anything. It doesn't
okay.
matter.
So if you ask me any questions about like
So,
where I would
right.
like to.
Yeah, so where, if you were to move, where would you go next?
I would probably say, because I'm just crazy.
Just say it. Don't say, tell me
Okay,
what you would
okay.
say. Just say it.
Well, I mean, I probably won't live in this neighborhood, but if I don't live in this neighborhood, then I'm actually really thinking about moving to Texas. But then again, Texas is a bit far from my family, so I'm thinking more
Yeah.
like, probably somewhere like in the valley or something where I'm still here,
Oh, wow.
but then also,
Oh, that's great.
away, like
I'm
I-
Dominic, by the way.
Oh, hi, Dominic. Nice to meet you.
What is your name?
My name's Ebony.
Ebony, nice to meet you. So Ebony, let me ask you, if we had a house in this neighborhood that you couldn't pass up, would you want to know about it?
Yeah, but,
Good. What's a good phone number for you, Ebony?
okay, 562-313.
That's it. It's
Okay,
done.
just keep like taking.
No,
control of
I'm
it.
going to push you to the edge.
Okay.
And I just offered you something that no one has ever offered you before. What did I offer you? No, what did I say exactly? No, what did I say exactly? A house you can't refuse. And what is that? What is a house you can't refuse? It's your dream. So I literally just said, if I could bring you your dream, would you be interested?
And to be honest with you, I didn't hear that because I'm so in my head. I'm thinking about, all I got was you cutting me off and me just listening to you because you took charge. That's what, I'm just being honest with you. That's what I got. Yeah. So I think
Good for us to know.
that's awesome. But that's awesome too, because that's how people are, I'm going not.
I try to do that with my wife. She's like,
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm gonna point out that he did, because I don't know if everybody caught that, is when he asked you for your phone number, he looked down. He didn't look at you
Yeah.
and waited, because
Yeah.
man, you just gave him the phone number.
by the
Yeah,
way,
because
I'll show you the most important thing I ever learned when I started videotaping myself in practice. Do you remember what you emailed me a while ago and you asked me an interesting question? What did you ask me?
I have to remember my question.
What was my answer?
I'll get back to you.
No, it was amazingly detailed for me. He was like, there were bullet points. There was. Like I hadn't really gotten an email like that in quite some time. So I was both impressed that you sent it.
5 points, and I'll cut it short. Video yourself practicing so you know what you're seeing. They should see a comfortable smile on your face when they open the door. That's tip 2. Tip 1 is use a script so you don't worry about what you need to say and listen. 3 is make sure you're listening. I think you meant listening appointment.
Yeah.
Is good so that you're excited to book the appointment. And the 2 most important questions are, who do you know who wants to buy or sell real estate? When is a good time for us to meet so we can talk about your plans? The biggest one is the one I stick the most is practice what you do at home. Rehearsal is what you do with partners. Performance is how you show the world to everyone to hire.
Can anybody repeat what he just said? Because I really, thank you. I should have sent it to you.
Hey,
Well, good. Good points.
Practice.
Mhm.
At home.
It's what you do at home. So you,
You don't practice in front of the client.
right,
Like, what is it?
rehearsal is what you do with somebody else,
Yeah.
Right.
right? And performance is how you get paid.
Amen.
Yes.
Also keep note that practice, they say practice makes perfect, but you could be practicing the wrong thing for a long time, so
Yeah.
perfect practice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So here's what I learned, and I'm gonna show all of you. I don't know if the camera will be able to see it.
And take us off the
This door should be hung the reverse way. In other words, somebody's gonna open it, but I'm just gonna show you guys what it used to look like and then what it looks like now. Okay, I'm just gonna be behind the door and then I'll open it, but it will be like a consumer is opening it, right? So we're knocking on the door.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You guys understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the door's backwards, it's not my fault. Well. So I knock.
Okay.
It's just reverse.
Come in.
You're in the outside.
Hi, I'm Dominic with Keller Williams Realty, and we're having an open house at 123 Oak Street. That's the first way.
Mhm. Come in.
Hi, I'm Dominic with the Adams Group Real Estate, blah, 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 right? The only difference between those two, and I don't know if you noticed it, is the smile is on before the door opens. And that is completely counterintuitive, because I thought somebody opens the door and then I smile. That's the authentic way to go, right? But when I saw myself on video, those first 2 seconds, and I didn't do this until probably, this is gonna be a surprise, maybe like 8 or 9 years ago. And I was like, oh God, those first 2 seconds. Like, really, that's what I saw. And the reverse was true. It looked like my smile was a lie because it wasn't there at first. And then they show up and I'm like, hey, how are you? You know, that's, the smile should be on before the door opens. Or before the phone is answered, if you're doing that. Okay, so you guys, we've been at this for about an hour and a half. I want to leave room for more conversation and for us to talk. I really want to show you the rent versus buy, but I think the conversation would be more important. They're on our MLS. I'm going to show it to you really quick and you can fill it in. So on the MLS, there is.
All right, real quick.
Just one sec. I'm so easily distracted, Alan, sorry. So on the finance tab right here, you see that? You go to financial calculators and it says, you guys, I can't even read this right now. My eyes are so bad, but I know where it is. That's how you know you've done it a lot. So it says, should I rent or buy? And you can fill in all the numbers. The number one thing you're hearing from buyers right now is it's so much more expensive than it was before. So if I was at the door and Coleco answered and I go, hi, I'm Dominic with the Adams Group Real Estate. We're having an open house at 123 Oak Street and I wanted to invite you to come on out and see the home.
Great.
Cool. Who do you know that's thinking about buying or selling real estate?
No one at this time. It's just so expensive right now.
Oh, okay. And do you guys rent or do you own?
Well, we're renting.
Oh, you are? Okay, that's fantastic. And I don't want him to feel bad that he rents.
Yeah.
I'm a real estate agent. I sell houses. So obviously I'm sort of on the side of that. But so I'm saying, oh, what do you guys pay for rent?
About 3,500.
Can you believe that I asked people? I met him 3 seconds ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, by the way, what are you paying for rent? In all my years of asking people what they pay for rent, the one that stands out is a buddy of mine. It's my brother's brother-in-law. We grew up together. We're kind of like the same person in so many ways. And I asked them what they were paying for rent at a party before, and they both kind of looked at me like, it was rude. I go, oh my gosh, it was rude. Like it almost knocked the wind out of me.
Are you serious?
I sold him a house later, so the wind returned. But that's what I'm telling you. It just almost never happens. People are.
It's pretty natural.
It's pretty. And I'm comfortable and they're comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, great. So has anybody shown you the long-term benefit of owning a home?
No,
In other words, what it would really cost after you get your tax benefit.
no.
You know, the government gives you a break on your taxes when you buy a home.
No, I'm not too familiar.
So, so that house that we're selling right now, it's $750,000.
Okay.
You need three things to buy a home. What are the three things you need to buy a home? Income?
Some credit.
So what, sorry, what? No, you can buy under 640. In fact, VA, I think will go all the way to 580 or something. So you need credit, income, down payment. That's all you need to say. Credit, income, and down payment. What kind of down payment have you guys saved?
I don't think it's enough. You know, maybe we got 10, 15,000.
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, that will work in some cases. There are homes that you can purchase for as low as 3.5% down.
Oh, wow.
So that would get you into a 500 range. This is, I believe it or not, I do have this conversation. So do you have any relatives who maybe would be happy to give you a little money and help bring that number up?
Now, there's a couple of people that come to mind.
Yeah, cool. Believe it or not, if they knew you could get into a home, they wouldn't be mad that you asked. They'd be happy for you. So you might consider just kind of testing the water.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah. So if you were, let's say you found another $45,000 and you got it to 70,000 and you could get a house for 700. The house that I'm talking about is 750. And really, I think it might even move up a little bit in price, but there are some homes in the neighborhood that could be like a 2-bedroom house that would sell like 650 to 7. Would that interest you?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So if you were gonna put 10% down on a $650,000 house, you would have a mortgage of $590. What would it cost somebody for a $590 mortgage? What's the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance on $590? Let's just round it up to 6. It's easier.
It's around 500 for every 100 grand.
It's about 500 for every 100,000 you finance. So that's 30,000. That's $3,000 a month. How much is their property tax on that? 600 and change. So let's just call it 6. So that's 36. And then you got to pay insurance, right? So that's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So what's that?
PITI 3,300.
2,800 for the PI.
No, 3,300 for PITI.
3,300.
There's got to be something missing. On 6, what's the interest rate in there?
I put 300. Want me to do now? 500?
What month are you in?
That's what it.
That was the nicest way I could say that. Oh my God, we've traveled back in time. No!
That's not the rate.
Well, let's do that. Let's
3901, 5%.
at 5%, it's 3901. So when I asked somebody earlier, what was the difference in the interest rate for their buyer? Do you know what the interest rate did to our prices? Do you know how much it deflated our price, everybody? Give me a percentage. What percent did it deflate our price? The change in the interest rate, when it moved up about 1.5 points, really, it deflated our prices, our values by how much?
2%.
Higher. Higher. 7%.
Okay, wow. Okay.
So when I'm making adjustments now on some of those comps, I don't have it up here anymore, but remember that triangle, the differential? I'm plugging in 7%. If something was sold in April, I'm gonna peel off 7 to 10% of that value, for sure. Okay. This is gonna be such an interesting test. You guys can fill out those numbers. I showed you where it's at. Now you can fill it out and you can mess with it. I got my first rent versus buy from a title rep, and it was what? A floppy disk that I put in the computer. And I would sit in the office because that's where I thought I should be. I showed up for my first day in real estate in a suit. And the guy who was in shorts and a Hawaiian shirt in my office that's 1 block up from the beach on Main Street in Huntington. And he's like, I'm the new kid, right? I was 33 and I looked like I was 23. And he's like, you got an appointment today? He was ready to be impressed, but if you knew Joe, you'd know he wasn't gonna be impressed. I go, no. He goes, funeral? You know. He goes, oh. And he went back to work. And then it was really Joe and I, maybe one other person in that office. So I had a lot of time sitting there waiting for people to walk in. And the reason why they looked in our windows, because we had a ton of things for sale, pages in the window. We're right on Main Street across from Sugar Shack. People would be drunk in the early afternoon and stumble into my real estate office. And they were looking for 2 things. They were occasionally looking at property, but they were also looking at the rentals. And I had this rent versus buy on a floppy disk. And so I would run numbers all the time because I'm sitting there and I don't want to talk to Joe. Joe, I don't want to talk to you. He insulted my suit. So I would sit there and run the numbers, and that's really what you guys should do. You should run different scenarios on this rent versus buy. It's going to help you understand the real benefit for buyers. And in a changed market, this is a race to the new perspective.
Right.
That's all this is. And the real estate agents who've been working for a long time understand that they have to retool and change the way their mind works. The people who are new, no problem. You're new. You don't have any screwed up mindset. The people who it's been easier for 10 years, when the pandemic hit, they were like, I'm retiring, right? So at this point, we're even over an hour and a half. I want to open up any questions, thoughts, comments. Lay it on me, everybody.
What mobile version is it? A mobile, like one we can put on our phone.
It's on your phone.
Oh, right, down.
Yeah, it's just the MLS, right? It's,
Can you take us back to how you got here one more time, please?
I live in Mount Washington.
Yeah.
Right here on it, financial calculator. There it is.
I said I was
Your board
born
does
into a
have a lot of
family
classes and
of
videos.
700 people. 6 of them. Thoughts, questions, comments? Yes.
I just want to say thank you. I like the way when you present to your clients to show the facts, the data, everything. So you don't feel guilty or trying to reduce the price. And that way you have more confidence and they know that you're working on the best interest. Even though you're going to have less money, if you lower the price, but just the price. So I really like that.
Yeah. If you text me, and when you text me, please put your name in the text. That's my phone number. If you text me, I will text you my listing presentation.
Oh, thank you.
You got it. Thanks for being here, Khalid.
I thank you too.
Yeah,
I
my
really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Were there any web questions? Or everybody's
Oh, yeah,
gone?
that's right.
There was participation of raising hands and everything. I'm gonna drop your number.
Oh, you guys, I'm so sorry. Did you put my number in there?
Yes, I'm putting it right now.
Thanks, Monica. Everybody, thank you, Monica, for setting this up.
Sidebar, we were talking about financing when you were talking about getting a certain number of people to apply for a mortgage, right? Nowadays, it's taking us 2 or 3 borrowers and co-borrowers, right? Because let's face it, the prices are up there still. The interest rates are going up. In fact, they're announcing another 3/4 of a point for the end of this month going up.
Oh, that's great
And-
news.
Yeah, that's right. So that, I mean, that should help us lower the prices of homes a little bit. But right now it's still pretty difficult to just buy a home with one or two salaries, because the salaries haven't gone up yet. So now imagine, guys, that you have a home. You just bought this home where you're gonna be paying $35,000, $4,000 a month, and then something happens to a loved one of the ones that helped you, co-sign or buy that property. Let's say you're the breadwinner, that person passes away. Is that other person going to be able to keep that house, keep that mortgage payment? Are they gonna have to sell it? Are they gonna have to rent it? Are they gonna have to make adjustments, to pay off all the medical bills that come with, with someone dying, going to the hospital, with someone who was making the mortgage payments, and now all of a sudden you lost that salary. Right there in front of you, you have a brochure. It's for mortgage protection, not to be confused with mortgage insurance. Mortgage protection is a form of life insurance that pays off the mortgage in case one of the borrowers passes away. And it'll pay it off completely so that the other person doesn't have to worry about having to make mortgage
You're not allowed to kill the other person.
You're not allowed to kill the other. There's certain clauses in that mortgage protection insurance. Now, guess what? This is the best part of it. If you have this mortgage protection life insurance and you don't pass away in the term that you chose to protect your mortgage, let's say you get it for 20, 25 years and you don't pass away, you're still alive, you get all the money from the premium payments, you get it back. So we can actually calculate how much money you're gonna get back so that you can pay off your house about 5 years earlier.
Oh, okay.
All right, it is a great product. And this is the best part. I know I said the best part was the last one. No, this is the best part, really. An outside agent who's working with me, because I'm also a licensed life insurance agent, made $3,000 last month. How would you like to get paid for prospecting? Because that's what's happening. You're gonna have to call your past clients to just stay in touch with them anyway. And if they already own a home, most likely they're not gonna want to sell for the next 5 to 7 years or 5 to 10 years, whatever it is now. But you're gonna be able to offer them this service and this protection. And if they sign up, you get a $200 referral fee, because in the insurance industry, we can't pay referral fees. Is Stephanie here? I saw Stephanie, but Stephanie referred a client, got paid within 2 days of that person signing up. That agent, that outside agent, made $3,000 because he referred about 40 of his clients, and 20 of them actually signed up for the coverage. $3,000 in between deals, it's not bad at all, guys. So if you guys have anyone that owns a home, call them up and see if they like to get this protection. And I'll be sure to make sure that you guys get your referral fee. Yes.
I have a question. Is the price of the premium based on the property price or the individual?
It's based on the mortgage that is outstanding. So let's say someone has a mortgage for $300,000. That's what we're gonna try and cover, the $300,000. Yeah, and it's term life. However, it's a term life, but it has for the price of term life, you're getting like a whole life policy where you're gonna get money back, and they actually guarantee you all the premium payments.
Can you give us an example, let's say for a 500,000 mortgage, how much will be the payment? Just to have an idea.
The reason I can't is because it depends on the person's age. If that person is between 20 and 25, it's gonna be super cheap, around $100 a month. But if they're in their 40s, it's probably gonna be 200 to 250, something like that a month. But it doesn't matter, because at the end of that term, you get all that money. It's like a forced savings account for you. All right. So if you guys have anyone that you like to refer, get those 200 per person, give me a call, 888-5847, like that. Just a little sidebar. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dominic.
Thank you.
Appreciate your information. Thank you, everyone out there in TV land.
Were there any questions, Monica?
No,
Okay,
the
cool.
questions were good.
That's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.